boss.
Yes.
We still call her every time, almost every day, wherever we are, and ask her advice. We never keep her advice, but we always ask.
Some Hollywood icons left behind a trail of glamour and heartbreak, but Zsa Zsa Gabor may have set the gold standard for scandal and luxury. She was famous for her 9 marriages, jaw-dropping revelations, and an unapologetically extravagant lifestyle that often ended in chaos. From beauty pageants in Hungary to lavish Hollywood mansions, Zsa Zsa lived like the spotlight was her birthright. Yet beneath the diamonds and designer gowns lurked dark secrets she only revealed on her own terms. Secrets that involved forced intimacy, messy affairs, and a shocking final twist that even her most loyal fans never saw coming. Let's peel back the layers of Zsa Zsa Gabor's life. From her teenage rise to fame in Europe, to her whirlwind entry into Hollywood's upper crust, to the bombshell allegations in her memoir, we're diving into a story filled with drama, heartbreak, resilience, and just a bit of cunning. By the end, you may wonder how one person could cram so many marriages, scandals, and international showdowns into a single lifetime, and why her life still captures our imagination long after she's gone. Zsa Zsa Gabor was born Zsa Gabor in 1917 Budapest, Hungary, into a family where ambition and beauty ran strong. Her mother, Jolie Gabor, was a fiercely determined woman who pushed her daughters to mingle with the upper crust of European society. Zsa Zsa often recounted stories of grand balls and ritzy soirees, where her sisters, Magda and Eva, flaunted their inherited good looks and quick wits. For the Gabor girls, everyday life involved studying etiquette, learning foreign languages, and mastering the art of getting noticed. Even as a child, Sari showed flashes of the confidence that would later make her a Hollywood standout. At 17, a spontaneous meeting with opera singer Richard Tauber led to her first real taste of applause. After stepping onto the stage in Vienna, she relished that electric moment of being the center of attention. Within a year, she won the Miss Hungary title, a victory that turned heads across Eastern Europe. Yet Hungary, though filled with glimmering potential, was too small a stage for the star she dreamed of being. War clouds loomed, and the Gabor sisters sensed opportunity on American shores. By the early 1940s, they were booking steamships to cross the Atlantic, eager to charm the new world with their exotic accents and stately flair. From day one, Zsa Zsa carried herself as if she belonged under the brightest lights. She saw life as a stage, and she never intended to be a side character. After an under-the-radar first marriage to a Turkish politician, Zsa Zsa aimed far higher when she set her sights on Conrad Hilton, the powerful hotel magnate with a name recognized worldwide. Rumor has it she met him at a glitzy Hollywood party where her diamond-studded gown and playful laugh made her impossible to ignore. Even though he was nearly 3 decades older, he was rich, influential, in Zsa Zsa's eyes, a gateway to an even grander lifestyle. This improbable courtship captivated the gossip columns, especially when Hilton supposedly tested her by offering 2 jewelry boxes, one lavish, one understated. She famously picked the simpler piece, convincing him she wasn't just another gold digger. They married in 1942, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed like a perfect match. But Hilton's frugality clashed with Zsa Zsa's hunger for the high life. He tracked her every expense, confining her to a strict budget that felt suffocating. Worse, he refused to call her by her beloved nickname, insisting on Georgia instead. Then came the infamous day at the Plaza Hotel. Hilton was bedridden with the flu, and Zsa Zsa tried to cheer him up by wearing a parade of glamorous outfits. Hilton, enraged rather than charmed, later cited that over-the-top display as grounds for divorce. When the dust settled in court, she walked away with barely any support. The real twist, she was secretly pregnant with his child, a bombshell she kept hidden until she gave birth to their daughter, Francesca, in 1947. What looked like a dreamy marriage from the outside was far from idyllic behind closed doors. While the public saw a dashing hotel mogul and a flamboyant socialite, Zsa Zsa's memoirs later revealed a brutal side to Conrad Hilton. Decades after their split, she published her tell-all book, One Lifetime Is Not Enough, which exposed her version of Hilton's controlling nature and explosive tempers. According to Zsa Zsa, he kept her on such a strict allowance that she barely had pocket money for even small luxuries. This despite being married to one of the wealthiest men in America. She recounted how the lavish gifts she received during their courtship dried up quickly once she became his wife, leaving her disillusioned and resentful. Then came the darkest allegation. Zsa Zsa claimed that Hilton had forced himself on her, leading to the conception of their daughter, Francesca. This was an accusation that flew in the face of the fairy tale image they had originally presented to the world. She wrote that the man who'd once wooed her with jewelry tests and spoken sweet words became distant, even cruel, and that any pretense of romance dissolved into something far more disturbing. The book also dropped another bombshell about a possible affair with Hilton's eldest son, Nicky, who was nearly a decade younger than Zsa Zsa. Whether or not her confessions were fully accurate or partially exaggerated, the revelations left a deep mark on Hilton's pristine reputation. People who saw the marriage as a fling between a worldly socialite and a powerful tycoon found themselves confronted with a grim narrative of betrayal. That scandalous account didn't just reshape public opinion of Conrad Hilton, it also redefined Zsa Zsa Gabor, proving that her life behind the scenes was every bit as dramatic and tumultuous as the glamorous persona she cultivated. Even as her personal life devolved into chaos, Zsa Zsa never stopped chasing the limelight. She had a charm that made directors keep her in mind for roles, even if her acting talent sometimes took a back seat to her celebrity status. At one point, she nearly secured a spot in the 1950 classic All About Eve, only to lose out to Marilyn Monroe. Losing to Marilyn was a blow, but it also highlighted the competitive nature of Hollywood. Zsa Zsa's exotic accent, larger-than-life personality, and quick wit often got her audition invites. But movie execs could be wary about whether she could carry a serious role. Despite missing that film, Gabor was never short on opportunities. She received multiple offers for parts that required sultry, mesmerizing performances, roles that might have capitalized on her real-life aura of glamour. One of the most talked about was the lead in a film version of the controversial novel Lady Chatterley's Lover. Given her scandalous personal reputation, many assumed she'd leap at the chance. Instead, Zsa Zsa declined, citing discomfort with the explicit nature of the story and the risk of further tarnishing her image. Ironically, for someone who was no stranger to drama off-screen, she seemed determined to control exactly where and how her name generated headlines. This reluctance to court cinematic controversy didn't mean she avoided the tabloids. In fact, her frequent appearances on talk shows provided all the publicity she needed. With trademark quips like, "I am a marvelous housekeeper. Every time I leave a man, I keep his house," she maintained her spot as a quotable fixture in the Hollywood circuit. That clever humor, coupled with her lavish lifestyle, kept her relevant even without major movie roles. Gabor knew how to wield her fame, turning everyday gossip into front-page news, making her personal ups and downs more compelling to audiences than most scripted plotlines. By the time the 1980s rolled around, Zsa Zsa's marital track record was a circus in its own right, filled with quickie divorces, whirlwind romances, and a wedding that lasted all of one day. Yet none of her previous unions could match the intrigue that swirled around her last husband, Frederick Prince von Anhalt. Born Hans Robert Lichtenberg, he became royalty through an adult adoption by Princess Marie Auguste of Anhalt. Gossip rags were quick to note that money likely changed hands in this arrangement, casting doubt on the authenticity of his new title. Nevertheless, when he crossed paths with Zsa Zsa, two worlds of flamboyance collided. Their marriage in 1986 set off another media frenzy, as critics questioned whether von Anhalt was after the Gabor fortune or, just as likely, whether Zsa Zsa was simply thrilled to add a European title to her already colorful marital resume. Friends warned her to be cautious, and they warned her that a paper prince might not be as solid a catch as he claimed. But Gabor, enamored with the glamour of a royal-sounding name, waved off the naysayers. Meanwhile, her daughter Francesca Hilton suspected a more sinister motivation. She believed von Anhalt aimed to isolate Zsa Zsa from her old friends and manipulate her finances. He, in turn, accused Francesca of trying to sabotage his marriage. The feud escalated into a legal showdown in 2005, when von Anhalt tried to sue Francesca for alleged fraud. Zsa Zsa refused to sign the papers against her own child, effectively killing the lawsuit. This tug of war, pitting a possibly ambitious prince against a wary daughter, cast a long shadow on Zsa Zsa's final years. As her health declined, the question of who truly had her best interests at heart became a matter of furious speculation, cementing the final chapter of her life as one more fascinating and deeply complicated drama. Although Gabor's marriage escapades drew headlines, her feud with actress Elke Sommer showcased another side of her relentless personality. After they performed together on a TV special, Sommer allegedly mocked Zsa Zsa's weight by muttering, "Poor horse," when she mounted one for a routine. Gabor, famous for her sharp tongue, fired back in interviews, accusing Sommer of looking old and broke. The tension escalated into a full-blown defamation lawsuit. Sommer emerged victorious, winning millions in damages. Gabor responded with scorn, vowing she wouldn't give Sommer a dime, cementing her image as someone who rarely admitted defeat. Then came her run-in with the law in 1989, which proved even her Hollywood pedigree couldn't shield her from real-world consequences. Pulled over for driving without a license and with an open container of alcohol, she responded by slapping the officer. The trial became a media sensation, amplifying the comedic image of an aging diva who believed she was above petty traffic laws. Sentenced to 3 days in jail at age 72, she served her time and joked later that the jail uniform did nothing for her sense of style. Meanwhile, her relationship with Francesca deteriorated beyond repair. By the 2000s, they were barely speaking, and when Francesca died, nearly penniless in 2015, von Anhalt chose not to tell Zsa Zsa, citing concerns over her fragile state. It was a heartbreak she remained tragically unaware of to the end. By her mid-90s, Zsa Zsa's health had plummeted. A series of strokes, accidents, and surgeries left her largely bedridden. Friends who tried to visit reported that von Anhalt closely managed her contact with the outside world, fueling rumors about her true condition. Then, in late 2016, she passed away from cardiac arrest just weeks shy of her 100th birthday. While the media dutifully reported her death, few realized she had spent roughly 5 years in a coma-like state on life support, far removed from the spotlight she'd once craved. Yet, in the most Zsa Zsa way possible, her story had one last round of pageantry. She'd always dreamed of returning to her native Hungary, and in 2021, von Anhalt fulfilled that wish, albeit in a flamboyant manner that turned heads yet again. He booked a first-class seat for Gabor's ashes, complete with a passport bearing her name, along with champagne and caviar for the journey. The spectacle captured Gabor's essence, a final glamorous tour for a woman who lived for lavish displays. Even in death, she insisted on elegance and drama, reminding the world that Zsa Zsa Gabor was never going to exit life's stage quietly. Zsa Zsa Gabor embodied a special brand of old Hollywood drama, blending charm, ambition, and a thirst for luxury that never dulled. She navigated marriages as skillfully as she worked a camera angle, each relationship providing fresh gossip for an audience perpetually fascinated by her life. While her glitzy surface concealed pain and tragedy, Zsa Zsa clung to her star power until the very end, refusing to fade quietly. Even now, her story remains both inspiring and tragic. She endured heartbreak, tarnished reputations, messy lawsuits, and shocking confessions. Yet her ability to mesmerize never died. Instead, she authored her own final chapter, Ashes on a First-Class Seat, champagne in hand, reminding the world that in Zsa Zsa's life, the greatest performance was always herself. And that, in a city built on make-believe, just might be the most fitting legacy of all.